guys, welcome back. If you are a DIYer or you spend any time at craft stores or Party City, you've probably seen some balloon kits that look really cool. Like, I could totally make that at home, right? So today, what I thought I could do, something a little bit different than your normal tutorial, is we're going to be getting this Minnie Mouse balloon marquee, well, what do they call it? They call it a sculpted backdrop kit. And I'm going to be using the materials in this kit to attempt to make this. Whenever I've seen these kits in stores, honestly, I've always rolled my eyes kind of at them and thought, oh, people should just hire a professional for these types of things because it turns out better. Usually my assumption with these kits is that they use cheap balloons, low quality materials, and that you probably would not end up getting something that really looks like what they show on the picture, except for this one product, which I was very surprised they put on the packaging because it's a column that looks awful. I mean, there's just like a big gap between the smaller balloons and the big balloon on top. You can see the pole. It's like, this is the image you went with, but hey, at least maybe it's realistic. So anyway, I'm not trying to bash the companies that make these balloon kits, and I get that there's a lot of people that are into DIY and you want to kind of decorate for your own parties. So if you're going to DIY your balloons, let me at least help you and give you some tips to how to make something that you get in a kit like this actually look good. And you might need some additional materials, but we'll find out once we get in here and see what they've given us. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to do some price breakdowns for you guys and compare how much we paid for this kit to how much it would cost if we wanted to make the same thing using balloons that you can purchase from a balloon retailer where like I buy my professional quality balloons. And then once you have the skills and know how to make this stuff, I'll also break down how much you can maybe sell it for in your local area, post something like this on your local Facebook marketplace. And if you do buy your own balloons, how many of these you could actually make from one order of balloons, and so how much extra income that could generate just by learning the skills and then selling your services out to your local area. So let's get into it and find out what is in this Minnie Mouse Balloon Backdrop kit. All right, so we've got a bunch of paper cutouts and things. So let's rip into this. So we've got some written directions. I don't see that there's any place where you can like scan a QR code to get a video tutorial, which I think would be really nice, but they don't have that. We've got a cut out this circle and inflate the balloon to fit inside the opening. So that's one way to do it, I suppose. We'll get there when we get there. All right, looks like her bow is just pieces of paper, shiny glossy paper, but not like cardstock, so pretty flimsy and a little bit pixelated from blowing up an image that I guess wasn't meant to be blown up this big, but that's fine. Guess you have to figure out how these pieces are supposed to come together to make a bow. So we'll figure that out later. I'm guessing it goes something like that. That is really big. All right, if that's how big the bow is, let's see how big is this backdrop going to be. Maybe I should have looked at that. Over 5 feet tall. Okay, I might need a bigger table. All right, now what do we have here? We've got, looks like pieces of paper. Maybe I should read the directions first. I'm just digging into it. Okay, so we've got pieces of paper with dots on it, and it looks like they are lettered. So ABC for all the different, you wouldn't think, these are odd shaped pieces for like 3 circles. So I may have to read the directions for this. Oh my gosh. I'm not sure how this is actually going to work with paper. If I was going to make a balloon backdrop like this, like someone hired me to do it and I wanted to do a really good job, I would not use paper to stick the balloons to. For one, you're probably going to see white through your balloons. So it's going to be like a black Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse, but then there's going to be, you can see the white paper through it probably. And then it's also paper. So flimsy and terrible. Like you could tear it, not terrible, but that, you know. I would use, if I was doing this for an actual customer, I would be using, what's that stuff called? Foam board, or even like a corrugated plastic board. Because I guess they want us to cut this out and tape it all together. Okay, so here's, my goodness. This looks like just a bag of black 5-inch rounds. Or maybe they're 7-inch. It does not say. So they want you to tape this directly to your wall. So no transporting it, no rearranging it when you're done. We'll just do this like we're supposed to. So I'm supposed to cut, I should have gotten bigger scissors, on this straight line. And to be fair, I'm not gonna cut super carefully because you're not meant to see the backdrop anyway. It is 7:30, so I'm just trying to time, if you're DIYing this at home, how long you can expect for this to take you. Okay, so we've got all the pieces cut out. Now I guess I need to tape them together. So I'm gonna line up the letters, I guess. So C's, these two C's are pointing at each other. I'm gonna overlap the papers just a tiny bit. They don't provide tape in the package except for, what is this? Yeah, so you got these glue dot things in the package, but to tape all your papers together, I would recommend packing tape, or my personal favorite, the Scotch Super Hold clear tape, invisible tape, whatever. Yeah, it's just called Super Hold tape. It's probably my favorite tape for balloon decorating type of stuff if I don't need it to be something super strong. Okay, so let's overlap these papers, tape them up. Oh my goodness. All right, so now I have to decide, seeing this backdrop size, if I do actually want to tape this to the wall to work on it, which goes against everything in my being because I am used to creating pieces at my studio and then delivering them or taking them on site to install them. And so building something on my wall, and then what if you need to move it or rearrange things, or you don't get the positioning right? I don't know, but because it's paper, it's not going to be very move friendly anyway. So I think I will tape it back here. Terry, help. All right, so we've got it taped onto the wall. I'm just using 5 pieces of the Super Hold tape. It's working very good so far, but again, coming from a professional, I would prefer to use command strips, and ideally this would be on a foam board, so a little more sturdy and able to be moved around. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow the directions. We're gonna attach the balloons how they want us to. We've got these glue dots, essentially. They're not branded, but that's essentially what they are. And it wants us to start along the bottom row, select the corresponding inflated balloon color. They're all black. Okay, so they want us to blow up our balloons this big. There are tools out there for measuring your balloons, but let's just go with this and try it out. And I'll tell you a little secret so that you don't have to fit your balloons through this little circle every single time, because that would take a long time. 140. Okay, so this comes with 140 black balloons. So if I was purchasing from my balloon suppliers, I would buy 2 bags of black 5-inch rounds, which are about $5 each, $5 to $6 each. So there's that. They do not include a pump of any kind in this kit to help you inflate these. Please, oh my God, please do not buy this kit and then try to mouth inflate 140 balloons. Oh my God, no, don't do that. Get a pump. Links below if you want to get professional quality pumps. And what they want you to do with this circle is to inflate your balloon, and then they want you to put it through here until it just fits through. And that way all your balloons will be sized the same way. But I can tell from inflating this that these are very low quality balloons. They just ovaled out immediately because they're very thin and not good high quality latex. So let me compare this to some black balloons in my professional quality balloon stock. So if I take a Qualitex brand or a Batalitex brand professional quality balloons, when I inflate these, they don't immediately just want to elongate. They do try to stay round a little bit longer, and then as we push it through here, like this is overinflated for a 5-inch round balloon. I'm sorry, but I never inflate my 5-inch round balloons this big unless it's going to be like the head of a character, because then you sort of want it to be elongated. Normally for decor and stuff like this, you want your balloons to be a round ball shape. So what I would do if I was making this on my own is I would let the air out of here until we're able to get a nice round ball shape, and then tie it off. Okay, you can also squish it in a little bit to help you maintain that nice round ball shape. And then we would put those on our paper backing here with the, like this. This cutout is too big. This is just too big. It says it's 5 inches, but that's too much for these balloons. So I'm going to decrease it a little bit. Look at that. It's just going to be hard to get this to be a nice ball shape because it doesn't want to. You're going to have to severely underinflate these to get this nice round ball shape with these lower quality, cheaper balloons. So I'm going to look at my pumps, number of pumps here. If I do 5 pumps in here and squeeze it in, I can get a little bit closer to being a ball, but that's still not looking as good as I want it to. So I'm going to do 4 pumps on this hand pump. And I can maybe get this to be rounder, more like the professional quality balloon. You can also tell, just, you probably can't see it on camera, but just by how see-through they are, the professional one is a bit thicker. This one is definitely thinner. You can tell just by looking through it. So instead of using this silly circle, I'm going to use the same pump for all the balloons that I inflate, and I'm going to count the number of pumps of air that I put into the balloon, and that will help me make all the balloons the same size, which will give you that nice consistent look for your design. It's just, if you're doing this kit at home, do not go buy this. That is too big. So it is a little bit smaller than that. You can get it to that nice round little ball size. Now, the next step on this would be to attach it to our paper using a glue dot. It says to apply the glue dot close to the nozzle. So that means just put it off to the side from your knot that you tied on your balloon there. So I'm gonna just rip off one and stick it, and we'll see if these are sticky enough to hold. One thing that I would suggest is pulling your knot tight and then cutting off everything after your knot as close as you can get it. That way you don't have the nozzle getting in your way and pushing the balloon away, especially with these unnamed brand glue dots. I don't know how good they are or how strong of a hold they're going to have. So we've got the glue dot on here, and this says to start from the bottom. So I'm gonna stick it on this middle dot here. So there we have our first balloon on there. It has been about 30 minutes so far just with getting set up, cutting out our template, putting everything together, and then figuring out how many pumps of air we want to put into each balloon to get consistent sizing. So now all you have to do is blow up all the balloons. Same pump, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we haven't squished it down into its round shape yet, it is going to be much smaller than this little cutout they give us, okay? But before you tie it off, you're going to take your hand and you're going to squeeze both ends in towards each other, not too hard. That will round out your balloon a little bit more, so do that for each one. And then you'll see that once we round it out a little bit, it's going to fill up more of this circle, but I'm still underinflating it just a little bit from their suggested size because of the quality of these balloons, and I just think that's a bit too big to get that nice round ball shape, which will help this look as good as it possibly can, despite the fact that we're using an unknown brand of balloons and paper to hold it all together. All right, I've got a couple done here, so I'm just gonna cut off the nozzles, and then we're going to use the provided glue dots. Just see how well those work here. I do have another brand of glue dot things that I love to use called U-Glue Dashes. So if these cheap ones are not working for you, I highly recommend U-Glue Dashes. It's what professional balloon decorators would use. All right, we've got our first row done down there. I don't know if you can see it. Just want to make sure before you cut off your nozzles that you pull tight on that knot so it doesn't come untied. All right, so I'm just putting the balloons where the black dots are on the paper, following the directions, even though that is against my nature. I'm not like rebellious or anything. And we're just gonna see how that paper looks on the background. I'm not liking it. I'm not liking the white paper showing through. We have a lot more balloons to blow up. Before you decide to DIY a big balloon backdrop like this, it's a little arm workout with the hand pump, which might tire your arms out as well. When professionals do an order like this, they've got machines that will pump up 2 balloons at the same time, and it will automatically size them to the right size. So you just put 2 balloons down, it immediately starts blowing them up, and it stops blowing at a certain point. So every balloon is the same size, and you can do 2 at a time. So your normal balloon professional is not going to be sitting around with a hand pump doing all these individual balloons for an hour or however long it's going to take to inflate all the balloons that we need to somewhat cover up this paper backdrop, because I don't think they put enough black dots on the backdrop, but we will see. Now, another tip I can give you if you're going to do this yourself is, so you're going to put your glue dot on one side of the knot, And then you want to make sure when you put this on your paper that the knot is always going to be facing the same direction. So it's either going to be above the glue dot when you stick it onto the paper, or you'll have the glue dot on top when you stick it to the paper. You want to do everything the same as much as possible, and that will give you a better end result. So I'm trying to make sure that the nozzle is above my glue dot when I stick it onto the paper, because that little bit of turning the balloon to the side just slightly, that will kind of angle your balloon one way or another, just slightly, but it's enough for the overall look of their design to look like some balloons are kind of facing up and some are facing sideways, and you kind of want everything to be the same with each balloon as much as possible. So inflated the same size and positioned the same way on your backboard or back paper as we have here. Now, if this is something, if you're a DIYer who's also struggling for funds right now, as we all are, right? This is something where you could buy the kit, practice, learn the skill, and then once you make it, you could post a photo of it on like a Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and let people know that you could make this for their birthday party. And a cool thing you could do would be to use foam board or plastic corrugated board or even a good cardboard as your backer. And then you make the design, you go drop it off, and then you can pick it up when the party or the event is over, and then you can reuse the backdrop so you don't have to make a new one every single time. So that is one way that you could turn this into a little side job, make some extra funds, since we could all use that right now. I mean, if you're gonna learn this skill and you're watching my videos for tips on how to do it better than what their instructions tell you, give you a little more detail, a little insider information, then you might as well be getting paid for your new knowledge. And we'll put links in the description down below where I buy my balloons. So if you do want to buy more bags of just black 5-inch round balloons so that you can make more of these for your friends or whoever, I will share with you my resources of where I buy my equipment and my supplies as a professional balloon artist. So you don't have to go rebuy the kit every time. You can just buy a $5 bag of balloons, reuse your backdrop, maybe use like a balloon bow instead of the paper bow, but we haven't gotten to that yet, so we'll see. All right, we're doing another round, and I've got another tip for you guys. If you are DIYing this at home and you're not super familiar working with balloons, just know that hair will really stick to balloons. So will dirt and dust, pet fur. And so if you are making this at your home for yourself, you want to make sure that if you're going to have to build it on the floor and then put it up, or blow your balloons up on the floor if you don't have a big table to keep everything up off the floor, you want to make sure to like vacuum really good before you start doing this if you don't want your pet's hair stuck all over your balloons everywhere. Sometimes if I do have to work on the carpeted floor that we have down here, we don't have pets, but I will still put black trash bags down like on the floor to create like a nice smooth floor so that there's no hair or anything, and I can like place my balloons on top of there and know that they're not going to get any carpet fuzz or any of my hair that might be on the floor stuck to the balloons, because there's really nothing worse than being a professional balloon artist and taking a beautiful centerpiece or a garland or something that you've made to your customer's home and then realizing it's got your pet's cat hair all over it. You might be okay with that, but someone else might be allergic to cats, or they don't want to see your cat's hair on the balloon that they've paid you some good money for. So always make sure you're working in a nice clean, this is how I cut my fingers off. Always make sure you're working in a nice clean space where you're not going to run into the hair sticking to your balloons problem. Sometimes if I'm working on something for a client, I'll even put my hair up in a bun just to make sure that my shedding doesn't affect my balloons, because I can lose just as much hair as any dog, it seems like. Okay, so it's looking pretty good for a $20 balloon kit, I think. But you will see that you can see the white paper in between the balloons here. If that's something that really bothers you, you could spray paint this before you do it. That's just gonna add some extra time and expense onto the project. But you know, that would be up to you. And again, if this was going to be something that I wanted to offer to people as a service, as something that I could make for them, because this is pretty time consuming. As you can see, it's already been an hour into this and we're not even done inflating all the balloons. So this does take time that some people don't want to spend. So if you want to offer to be able to do this for other people, I would definitely maybe use the paper as a template to make your own sturdier backdrop that you can reuse. And I would definitely make sure that that backdrop is painted, spray painted, something, so that it is black, and that will give you a much better, more professional looking end result. All right, we've got 56 balloons left to inflate. Will we have enough? I sure hope so. But it is a lot of balloons to blow up and a lot of time. So just be aware of that. 4, 55, 56. Okay, so that's all the rest of the balloons that I need to inflate. And I will say it looks like, because I did blow up 2 testers over there, it looks like they give you about 10 extra balloons. So there is some wiggle room if you make some errors or mistakes, or one of them deflates on you. So that's good to know. You've got about 10 extra balloons in your kit. All right, so we've got to inflate all of these and we'll be done. All right, we're getting close. Just keep blowing, just keep inflating. Doesn't sound right. But after you've inflated this many balloons and tied this many balloons, you're gonna be feeling a little delirious. So if you need to sing a silly song, do it. Whatever helps you get through the process. Uh-oh. We got a little blister. My tying finger. So if your fingers do get worn out or you get a little blister on your finger, totally normal, not ideal. Maybe you want to put on some preemptive band-aids or something before you start tying all these balloons to just kind of cover the parts of your fingers. Almost everybody ties differently. So once you've started tying a few balloons, you kind of see where the balloon really pulls on your skin or your fingers. You can wear gloves, put a band-aid on, although it might get slipped off your finger with the balloon. Or if you want to try one of those tools that helps you tie, I don't know if I even have any around here, but there are things to help make it a little bit easier on the fingers. my microphone died, and so my camera stopped recording. So you guys didn't get to see me put on the very last balloon, but I've already had a step back and kind of looked at this from a distance, and I do think that it looks pretty good. If you guys follow some of the pro tips that I've given you, I think you can have a good result like this. I'm not a huge fan of being able to see a lot of the white between the balloons. So if this was my own template that I was creating, I would scoot those black dots a little bit closer together so that we could get our balloons more butting up each other. But since my wall is white and the white paper, it doesn't look too bad, but it's not something I wouldn't want to deliver this as a professional. I would want it to be on something a bit sturdier with the black background and everything. But if you're doing a DIY at home for your own party, I think this will look really impressive. If you follow the tips that I've given you with the sizing and the placement and everything, I think your friends will probably not know that you made this yourself. It does look pretty cool. So overall, my opinions on the kit so far, not a fan of the paper, but I get it if the intended customer is someone who is just going to do this for themselves. They're going to tape it on the wall and work on this exactly where they want it to be placed for their party. Now, it's kind of hard to know when you're taping all those different shapes together, like what part is what. So you do kind of need to tape it together and then tape it to the wall if you're going to do this. I think taping it together while it's on the wall would be even more difficult. So that's fine for DIY. The glue dots actually stuck pretty well. I had one balloon pop off. So if you're gonna have some kids roughhousing around this design, you might lose a couple off of it, but you do have extra glue dots included in here. So if anything does pop off, you can just kind of restick it. The balloons were definitely a lower quality than the latex balloons that I'm used to working with. But so far, I only see a couple that are starting to lose air. So this one over here is definitely getting a little deflated on me. And balloons of any brand will sometimes do that. There's no brands where it's like guaranteed not to pop. So sometimes when you're tying your balloon and you're pulling that knot tight, sometimes that can create a little pinhole in your balloon and they will slowly deflate like that. I didn't have any balloons outright pop with a big bang on me, so that was nice. I would not use these balloons if I was delivering this to a customer. I would use the high quality balloons that I'm used to using for my business, but for an at-home mom decorating her party, I think this is okay for the price. All we have left to do now is put this big old bow on. So I'm looking at the instructions here. We're gonna assemble the bow on a flat surface. It says using an adhesive of your own choice. Overlap the cutouts so that the faded areas are covered. So wait, is that the top or the bottom? All right, these pieces are smaller. So the confusing thing about this bow is like, okay, let's say this is a butterfly. All right, these are not exactly the same size. Like one is longer and one is fatter. So that's a little confusing, and I think they're actually supposed to face this direction. I think that'll work. And then this middle, like this is kind of just weird looking. I guess it works. Just looks kind of weird. So it says use the adhesive of your choice, which for me will be the Scotch Super Hold tape. So I'm just going to tape all this together. So what they want you to do is hold this up here, and we're gonna see which balloons are gonna be making contact with the bow. So everything under here. So we're gonna wanna put some glue dots, maybe on all of these guys here, just like one glue dot in the center, which now that it's on the paper, is a little easier said than done because you don't want to pull it off the paper. So just be careful that you hold your balloon down as you pull the glue dot off. You don't have to do every single balloon, but it is a pretty floppy bow because it's paper. Again, with the paper. So the more the better. Okay, now let's see if we can get it to stick. All right, so there is our finished Minnie Mouse backdrop. Wow, this one took a while. Total, we've gone almost 2 hours here, but keep in mind that I am pretty used to tying balloons, so I'm pretty quick at blowing up and squeezing and tying the balloons fast, so that might be something that would take you a bit longer. If you don't work with balloons often, it might take you a little bit longer to tie all these balloons. It's like 130 or something balloons that we did tonight. So overall, my thoughts are that the materials in this kit are okay. They're not professional level quality, which is fine if you just want something that looks nice like this at your home for your party. Be prepared to set aside a few hours to build this if you're going to do it yourself. Make sure that you have those hours all, at least for the balloon inflation part, all at one time. You don't want to be inflating some balloons the night before and then some balloons the next day, because as the balloons you inflated the night before are getting smaller, then you come back and start inflating the new balloons the next day, they're going to be larger. And so you're going to have different size balloons on your design. So maybe the bottom half will have balloons that have already shrunk down a little bit, and then the top half of your design will be the nice plump full balloons that you just did before the party, and you're going to be able to see a definite size difference. So if you can't build the whole thing in one go, at least make sure that you inflate all the balloons in one sitting. Enlist some friends, enlist your other family members to help you if they're able to, so that you can get everything inflated. That way, when the balloons do start to lose a bit of air, and because these are lower quality balloons, they will start to lose air faster than a higher quality balloon, just because they're thinner. They will shrink down a little bit. Even if it's just one overnight, when you come back the next day to finish the design, you'll notice a difference, especially for a design like this where everything is very neat and orderly. You're going to be able to see differences. They're going to stick out like a sore thumb. So the biggest tips from a balloon professional, if you're going to DIY this yourself, is to make sure that you get things as consistent with every balloon as much as possible. Blow them up the same amount with you measure it with the pump. You can use the little circle cutout they gave you, but I'm not a huge fan of that. I like to count the pumps, make sure that you are squeezing them about the same amount to round them out, tying them off nice and tight, cutting off the nozzles, and then your placement onto the paper backing, make sure that it's the same every time. So your little knot is going to be on one side of the glue dot. You want to make sure it's on the same side every time when you're putting it onto the wall. That will give you a consistent look, and that will help you guys have a much better result. Those are little tips from a pro that the directions don't really mention, but will make a big difference so that your result actually does end up looking somewhat similar to the picture on the box, which again, I'm kind of annoyed that they filled in the white spaces between the balloons with like a dark gray or black, because in reality, you're gonna see the space between the balloons when you do this yourself, which I think is fine. I've got a white wall, it blends in, I don't hate it. It's not what I would give to someone who is paying me to make this for them. But if you want this to look as close as possible to the picture on the box, use the tips that I gave you in this video and you'll have pretty good results. So let's talk numbers. This kit for the Minnie Mouse backdrop costs $31 at PartyCity. I looked it up on their website. That's what you can get it for today. So for $31 and about 3 to 4 hours of your time, you can have a nice little backdrop for your wall. And hopefully you used my tips in this video to make it look as good as we can possibly make that kit look. Not great for transporting it, not great for outdoor parties. Please do not try to do this at an outdoor party. You're not going to be able to have time to build that, needing the hours that it takes. If you are renting a little space at a party facility, like a bouncy castle place or a trampoline place, they're not going to give you 4 hours of setup time before your party event starts. So not ideal for parties like that. It's really meant for an at-home party where you don't have 5 kids running around destroying the house while you're trying to clean it to get ready for the party, and somehow you can find 3 to 4 hours to build this thing yourself. Kind of a stressful thing to add on to your long list of things to do as a mother getting ready to host a birthday party in your home. Now, if I were to buy the supplies from my suppliers, it would cost me about $12 to get 2 bags of black 5-inch rounds to make that design myself, and then I would probably use something like one of these foil bows that you could just blow up the foil balloon and pop on that big bow, and then that foil balloon can also be reused, assuming it doesn't get popped or something, but you can reuse foil balloons. And then I would make the backdrop again out of a foam board or corrugated plastic boards. So cost to get the supplies to build something like that myself would probably be about 20 bucks total. And then the time to create the backer board, which would not take 3 hours. But I could reuse it over and over. It would be a nice sturdy board that I could also spray paint so that I would have a better end result. It would have black and it would kind of help fill in any gaps, or if your balloons are a little wonky and they're not all staying nice and straight and aligned, if you have a black backer board, then that's not going to be quite so obvious as it is when all the balloons are black against white in the middle. You can really see anytime any little balloon is out of place. Now, if I was going to sell this, I would price my Minnie Mouse backdrops at anywhere from $75 if I'm just kind of getting into this and maybe I'm not super confident about the quality of my work yet. Anywhere from $75 to like $150 to drop off a Minnie Mouse backdrop for someone at a party. So my recommendation is that maybe you spend the $31 at Party City to get a feel for doing this and see if you like it. But if you're going to spend the 3 to 4 hours that it takes to learn how to make this design and do it yourself, you might as well make some money off of that new knowledge that you have. Okay, so if you're going to build this skill, why not offer it to other people? It's a lot less stressful to make a big design like that when you're doing it for someone else and you're not doing it for yourself, and you're also trying to clean the house, get all the food set up, decorate all the other parts of your house, keep your kids from destroying everything. That is way more stressful than just taking a few hours of your time and an evening to create this and then go drop it off at someone's party the next day. This is one of the reasons why I love having a balloon business, because dollar-wise, it's one of the lowest startup costs for a business that you can have. Balloons are very affordable, and it's easy to learn the techniques on how to become a good balloon artist. If you just learn some simple methods of best practices and ways to do things correctly, it's not rocket science to learn how to become a balloon artist and sell your work. So for 20 to 30 bucks, you can learn how to make a design like this, get really good at doing it, and then advertise that. I would start just advertising on Facebook Marketplace, any neighborhood groups that you're already in, for your local area. Let them know that, hey, I can make Minnie Mouse balloon backdrops, and just start with that. And then as you get more comfortable and more skilled at doing that, then maybe we can branch off to doing some other things. But if this is something that interests you, if you're a DIYer person, you might as well use your skills that you've learned doing all your DIYs to make some extra income. I know that we could all use that these days. And hey, maybe you'll end up like me and it'll turn into a full-time business for you, and you'll be making more money than you ever thought balloons could make for you as well. If you're interested in learning more, I highly recommend watching some of these other videos. And if you want to get serious about building your own balloon business, check out my membership, the Twister Hood. It is a membership just for balloon artists, and I give you all kinds of resources, trainings, everything you might need to run a balloon business successfully, to start one or grow one. All right, see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone.